Yo, how's everyone doing? Welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be talking about King's Jaguar sprints and how to utilize it in the best way possible. But as you know, he has received a buff that is much appreciated, so we're going to go over that first. So let's get straight into it. As you know, his Jaguar sprint in the previous update, you could not immediately stop and block, right? If you wanted to block an attack, a rage art, a heat smash, you would have to block in advance. You see how he slips? You would pretty much have to stop fully, just like this right there, and then you can block. But now he immediately has a blocking stance. So let me show you with the rage art. Look at that. Immediately, I'm let it run. Look at that. This is amazing. Look at that. I can wait until the very last minute to block. Before, you would have to block miles ahead. Like, you would have to get a full stop in order to block any attack, whether it was a jab, a low, you know, whatever it was, right? Obviously a low will beat it unless you quickly stop in time, but most moves, right, like a rage art for example, King couldn't do anything about it. When he began this stance, and they did a rage art, there was damn near nothing he could do, even if he didn't throw out an attack, right? But now that they sped up the stop and the amount of time that the block frames come to King, it's such a huge change, because now we can actually run and just, you know, play around with people and actually block attacks. Okay, so even with his heat smash, I'll show an example. So just like that, you see how fast King can block. Before, you would get hit, right? If you were running and they would do an attack, after they would hit every time. Oh. Just like that. It's such a huge change, I think. It definitely allows us to be able to use this move a lot more without the risk, because in the neutral I would only use it kind of to, you know, run around, kind of play around with it, but now that I can actually run up and block in time, is huge. So this is definitely a nice change for King, and I am going to be using it as much as possible. So now that you know, when you're running, you have a lot more time to block an attack, a rage art, a heat smash, whatever you name. Even after his heat smash is blocked and he activates the run manually, you can also block attacks instantly. So this change is huge for King, and it's appreciated. Okay, now let's go over his best moves and how to use them. Okay, now let's talk about all the options coming out of his running Jaguar step. So the first one we all know is the RKO, probably my favorite move in this stance, because it's just sick. You can't lie, this move is awesome. But it comes out at 23 frames, so it is pretty seeable, and as you see, he has his arms coming out for a big bear hug, so it's, you know, telegraphed, so the opponent can kind of see when that reach is coming out, they can just duck it. So always keep that in mind as far as using it and setting up. Sometimes the trick is just to do it, because a lot of times people are going to be waiting to see if you're going to do the low or the mid option. So the RKO is very damaging, but it's the slowest option out of this stance. Okay. Next we have my favorite, running one. So it's a mid that flips the opponent over for guaranteed down back 3 or guaranteed grab. So we can get this correctly. Boom. As you see, 49 damage. Okay. And look at that. It's 16 frames. So it's the fastest move, and in a way the most damaging, right? Because not only is it coming out at 16 frames at the fastest in this stance, it's a knockdown mid, and it's also only -9 on block, as you see. Because if someone ducks the RKO, you're launched, right? It's damaging if someone. But with this move, look at it. It's only -8. So it's not even a huge risk you're throwing out, and the gain from it is pretty good, right? You get an option of down back 3, you get the option of a grab, right? It also knocks the opponent onto the wall, so it's very good. I use it probably the most out of this stance, just for all those reasons. It's really good, so I definitely mention, or I would mention to use that move as much as you can. Okay, next in the Jaguar step, you also have 3, which is a mid that tracks, as you see with the little swipes on the screen. It comes out at 22 frames, so it is a little slow, but you could use it at like a good range, right? If they try to stab, it's going to hit. You don't get anything guaranteed unless you're at the wall, right? Because this move wall splats, which I'll show. But this move is not bad, and on block it is. On block it's a -9, so, and you recover really quickly, so it's not a bad move, but definitely using this move at the wall, I would say, is a lot better. All the King's options honestly are pretty good. It's kind of up for you to understand how to use these and how to place them. The third option we have is 2. So this move is a little bit slower than the 1 option, but it has a little bit more range, right? Let's see if I can get this right there. You see? So that little extra range could help, because a lot of times when King's running up, right, they're waiting for you to do a certain option, right? So if you do the max range, there's a good chance they might get hit trying to stab. There's a good chance they might just get hit thinking that they can, you know, throw out a heat smash or, you know, some type of move in that instance. But because it has that little extra range to it, it will hit the opponent before that move will come out in most cases, okay? And you can get down 3. So it's not too bad of a move, right? The only downside of this is really that it's a high, okay? Because it is plus as well. I believe it's +4, +3, as you see, and it does chip damage, right? So this move is pretty solid, because after the hit on block and there's a little bit of chip, you go straight into a giant swing. You go straight into kind of any grab that you would like. So it definitely has its own utility, you know? So always keep that in mind. Each of these moves and this stance, they all have their own roles, okay? And understanding that is how you can win as much matches and use these moves in the best way possible, okay? So definitely a good move, has the best range out of it, does chip, plus on block, and you can transition straight into throws, okay? The last option, you have 4. And this move is very unique because even though it's very negative, and I'll show you, I believe it's -21. Look at that. So even though it's -21, it's actually not, because King, he goes in the air and then he's on the ground, right? So when they block this, you see that? There's no stagger. There's none of it. So the best they can do, they would have to low parry this move in order to get any type of damage. If they block it, there's nothing they can really do. Maybe one poke, because of the state that King lands on the ground. So this move is good, right? Because you can do it from a good distance, just like that. You see that? So just like 2, it has a lot of range. And because King lands on the ground like that, it's a lot safer than it shows on the screen. Even though it's -21, it's actually a lot safer than that, okay? So don't be afraid to throw this option out. The most damage they would need to do is a low parry, okay? And on hit, it does that. It's a little bit of damage, nothing too serious. And it does nothing on counter hit, unfortunately. So the move is more of a range thing. If you know that you need 1 or 2 hits and you're like this, walking around, you can run up, boom, from far out. So that's the way I would use that move. Just like how down back 3 is one of my also favorite King moves, that it's a range move, right? It doesn't do much damage, it doesn't do anything on counter hit, right? but the range on this move is very good. Okay, look at that. From half screen, you can hit the opponent. So that's how you should utilize that move. Okay. And then lastly, just like we mentioned before, he has the stopping, just running and stopping just by holding back. You can always run, stop, and then grab as an option. Mix up your opponent, you know, cast them off guard. So especially with the new buff, this is a lot more efficient actually now, because before you would probably get hit with some type of big move because you couldn't block in time. But now that you can stop, this is actually a viable option now. You can just run up, stop, block an attack into a grab. So it's very good. King's stance is a lot better than most people think. I know a lot of people are having trouble against King, but he is, and it's understandable. These stances are very tough to deal with, especially if you know how to place these moves correctly. Okay, so next I'm going to show how these moves work at the wall. Okay, also at the wall, only 2 of his options can do big damage. So 3, as you see, boom. King recovers fast enough for you to land into standing and get a launch, which is very cool. So this move is, I think, a lot better at the wall than it is in the neutral. Because of that tracking, they cannot move, right? If they're at the wall and they try to step left, right, it doesn't matter if this move tracks, boom, full launch. So very good at the wall. Definitely, you could argue it's better than this one, right? Because if they step, boom. So always keep that in mind. It's very good to use at the wall. So the one option tosses them right on the wall and you can screw. Oops. Just like that. Okay, so very good. Like I was saying before, this running one is only -8 on block. It knocks down the opponent and it also tosses them on the wall for a combo extension. So that's why it's my favorite, because it has so much you can do with it. Even at the wall, in the neutral, it has so much use. Okay.